Welcome back to the Flow Sports Fix on this Thursday. Well, it's time to find out the 9 winners for round number 5, and here's the Statman to give them to you.
Thanks, Clayton. Yes, your Thursday here on the Sports Fix means we need to have a look at our AFL tips for the coming weekend, and I hate to say this, and I'll probably end up with egg on my face for saying it at all, but it looks as though it's a fairly straightforward round for tipsters, this one. We're going to start tonight with Richmond taking on St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. It is St Kilda's home game, and the Tigers will start favourite in this one. I think they will win. St Kilda have really struggled for most of the season, only really playing one significantly good half of football against West Coast, which was enough to see them off. Look, if they can continue on, St Kilda, the way they finished last week's game, and quite often that is the case, then they'll be a threat to Richmond. But I think Richmond will be smarting after a couple of losses now back-to-back, and will find a way to get the points in this one. On Friday evening, an interesting game over in the West, the West Coast Eagles taking on Collingwood. And this is a rematch of last year's elimination final, which was won by Collingwood. But a lot's changed for both of these clubs since then. Neither have been in overly convincing form. One thing we do know about the West Coast Eagles is they don't often lose at home. But when they do, it's normally to Collingwood. So with that said, I think the Eagles will win. I think they will win fairly comfortably in the end. Collingwood just seem to be off the bit a little bit right now. The Western Bulldogs, top of the ladder and going absolutely magnificently. They are taking on the Gold Coast Suns at Marvel Stadium on Saturday. And I would expect in this game that the Western Bulldogs will win very, very comfortably against the Gold Coast Suns, who have been foot on the till for most of the season, but just can't quite get across the line at the moment, other than the one game against North Melbourne. They've had some opportunities, the Suns, but haven't been able to cash them in yet. The Western Bulldogs, for mine, win this one pretty well. The Battle of the Bridge, also Saturday twilight, the Sydney Swans and the GWS Giants. The Giants have struggled for most of the year, having a very impressive win in their last start, though, to break their season's duck. Look, I think in the end, the Swans will just be too good here. 5 wins from 5 starts for them. They're in the top 4 at the moment, having been or are undefeated up until this point. So the Swans to win the Battle of the Bridge by probably around about 4 to 5 goals. Danger for Port Adelaide when they travel to Melbourne and take on Carlton, who have back-to-back wins. Carlton hosting Port Adelaide at the MCG, and this has danger game written all over it for Port Adelaide. Carlton's Harry Mackay looms large in this game. Port Adelaide's undersized defence don't handle the big beast forwards, as we've seen in recent times. And they can sometimes be caught out. If Harry Mackay can get hold of Port Adelaide, they are not without a chance in this one. That said, Port Adelaide should have too much talent all over the field and should get the job done here. But I'm not as confident as I was maybe a fortnight ago in this one. Port Adelaide by a couple of goals. The Brisbane Lions head home finally, and they will take on the Bombers out there at the Gabba. And this is on Saturday evening. I think the Bombers will struggle to get the job done here. They've been better in the last fortnight, Essendon. But the Brisbane Lions were pretty good in their loss to the Western Bulldogs last week. I think they will thrive being back at home. They really need to get a move on now, the Lions. They're at the moment 16th on the ladder with just the one win for the season. But I think they will play finals. And to do that, they'll have to win this game, and they will. On Sunday, we get the Adelaide Crows hosting Fremantle. And I think the Crows at home are good things here. The Dockers have been a little up and down throughout the season, I think it's fair to say. They have had a couple of wins, the Dockers 2-2, the Crows 3-1. They are a different proposition at home than they are away, much like the West Coast Eagles from the same territory, of course. I think the Crows win this, although Fremantle, again, not without a chance in this game. Hawthorn taking on Melbourne, and Hawthorn are absolutely without a chance in this game, not because they're no good, but because Melbourne are exceptionally good. Second on the ladder at the moment, Christian Petrarca, the favourite for the Brownlow medal in my eyes, absolutely dominating. Clayton Oliver re-signing through the week. They're up and about Melbourne, and I think they'll win this and go 5-0, and it's been a long time since Melbourne have been 5-0 to start an AFL season. And the last match of the round will be the twilight game at GMHBA Stadium on Sunday, and that's Geelong taking on North Melbourne. And don't both sides here need a win? My goodness. The Cats, 10th on the ladder at the moment. North Melbourne, well, it's fairly stating the bleeding obvious that they need a win at the moment. They are rock bottom of the ladder, have not had a win in a percentage, if you don't mind, of just 43. My goodness, that's terrible. And they are pretty bad at the moment, North Melbourne. And to go along with that, they've had some pretty bad luck. Luke McDonald out for another 10 weeks in his comeback game. He's struggling. Jed Anderson hopefully will be back, but unlikely. They're missing a lot of their stars in inverted commas at the moment, North Melbourne, at least their experienced players. So they're going to be outmatched. In contrast, Geelong get Patrick Dangerfield back, and that alone should be enough to beat North Melbourne. In fact, the bookmakers agree. They've got North Melbourne a $14 outsider in a 2-horse race. I think the Cats win this by probably 5 to 10 goals. And that is a look at the tips this week. Good luck. Remember, gamble responsibly if you are having a punt on the footy this weekend, but enjoy your footy tipping. A little bit later on down the track, we're going to have a look at fantasy football as well in this segment. But for now, we will leave it there. Back to you, Clayton.
Thanks, Jace. And those 9 winners for you again, just in case you missed them, they were Richmond, West Coast, the Bulldogs, Swans, Port Adelaide, Brisbane, Crows, Melbourne and Geelong. Good luck with your tipping, and yes, and do so responsibly if you're gambling on it as well. Don't understand this football fantasy stuff, but, well, maybe we'll get educated with Jace in the coming weeks. Good luck with your tips, and we'll be back chatting with world snooker champ, Aussie snooker champ. He's number 3 in the world, and he's a great bloke to talk to, apart from the fact that he likes Collingwood and Chelsea, of all things, and we're not talking about that. But no, he's a real good bloke. He's a good Aussie bloke, and we're going to chat with Neil Robinson about snooker coming up next on the Sports Fix.